I want to bring in Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Congressman Greene, you've been going out through the country. You're one of the leaders of the MAGA movement. You're a total firebrand. You've been talking to people all over. Joe Biden, who's basically turned the government over to Big Pharma with Anthony Fauci's CDC, which just voted yesterday unanimously to put vaccines into 5-year-olds. Ron DeSantis in Florida. We're going to have the Surgeon General of Florida, Dr. Ladapo, on the 6 o'clock show to say what the Free State of Florida is going to say. Where do you think we stand when Biden says we're going to do just fine? How did you assess that, Congressman Greene?
Well, I think Joe Biden has dementia, and he clearly has some very severe mental problems because he's not connected to the American people, Steve. You see, what's about to happen on November 8th is going to be a referendum on the Democrat Party and their policies. It's not just Joe Biden. It's Nancy Pelosi. Because all of the legislation and the horrific things that have come out of the House of Representatives have been delivered by Nancy Pelosi. Joe Biden is only the dummy in the White House that signed them into law. So think about this, Steve. This is the party that has delivered the highest inflation to the American people since Jimmy Carter, hovering over 9%, but it's much, much higher for people that check out at the grocery store and small businesses struggling to survive, and senior citizens that can barely pay their rent or buy groceries. This is also the same party that is the best business partner to the Mexican cartels that has ever existed. The Mexican cartels are making billions of dollars off of human trafficking and fentanyl that is now the #1 cause of death in young people and that has caused 5 million people to invade our country in less than 2 years. The Democrat Party and Joe Biden is about to find out on November 8th what happens when you cause crime to increase with your defund the police policies. What happens when you create homelessness all across America because you devastated our economy? What happens when you promote abortion up into the day of birth? No, that's not women's rights. That's murder. And what happens when you destroy women's rights by putting men in our sports and men in our daughters' bathrooms? And then even worse, you promote a medical industry that wants to castrate teenage boys, give mastectomies and hysterectomies to 15-year-old girls, and puberty blockers to middle schoolers that causes health problems that are even unknown. But the medical tyranny that has come out of the CDC and Joe Biden's administration has been devastating. Parents now are talking about fleeing blue states because their children will be forced to take a COVID-19 vaccine. COVID-19 has only killed just over 1,400 children under the age of 18 since June 4th of 2020. The Democrat Party is nothing but a lie, and the American people know it. They don't care about January 6th. All the American people care about is November 8th, and they'll be flooding the polls to send the Democrat parties packing, and Republicans will be back in charge in the House.
Congressman Greene, I had the opportunity to watch your debate the other night. It wasn't particularly lengthy, but I got a chance to watch it to your opponent. And Joe Kent's going to follow you. Had a chance to watch Joe's debates, the parts that I could see of them. In both cases, they had a similarity. They had people running against, people who are considered populist, nationalists, conservatives. And in both cases, and I've seen throughout the country, they won't embrace the policies of Nancy Pelosi, although they're going to vote with her 100% of the time. This is throughout the country. Why is it that all these Democrats, when they get to their districts, don't want to be associated with Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden, but once they get to Washington, they walk in lockstep, ma'am?
Well, that's because they're hearing from the people, and the people are furious. And I cannot wait for Joe Kent to join me in Congress. I am so looking forward to these America First fighters, just like Joe Kent and many others that I know will win their elections on November 8th. You see, the American people are purely disgusted with the Department of Justice and Merrick Garland and the FBI that has been coming after parents at school board meetings, targeting pro-life activists simply for standing up for life, and targeting the Trump administration and Trump voters, Republican voters all across the country. We're fed up. We want to impeach Merrick Garland because of the wicked abuse of the Department of Justice and the abuse of power that people like Merrick Garland are currently doing. Also, Secretary Mayorkas and what he's failing to do at our southern border. But the big impeachment, Steve, what we're going to go after, and the reason why I'm excited for people like Joe Kent, and the reason why people in Joe Kent's district and mine are supporting us over these loser Democrat candidates and Democrat elected officials is because the American people want to impeach Joe Biden for the failure that he has done as president of the United States. This is the man, I just want everyone to remember, this is the man that lost to the Taliban and armed them with $85 billion American taxpayer of military equipment and weapons. Joe Biden is the president of the United States that is currently losing a war to Russia in Ukraine while they funnel nearly 100 billion American taxpayer dollars to Ukraine to fight a war we have no business fighting, because Ukraine is not our border. The United States southern border is our border, and it's currently under invasion. So I cannot wait for Joe Kent to be elected on November 8th. I cannot wait for these America First fighters to come to Congress with me, because we are going to be leading a revolution in Congress, and that is to put a referendum on the Democrat Party, a referendum through investigations and accountability. Joe Biden and his family will be a top target, and so will the CDC, the FBI, the Department of Justice, the Department of Education, Homeland Security, and many other federal government entities that have abused power and have done so much damage to our country. And it's time to starting in January of 2023.
I think Kevin McCarthy said something that was very important the other day, that these would not be done for political reasons. These will be honest investigations. You'll have ranking members, minority counsel, all that. There'll be deep investigations, whether it's the invasion of the southern border, whether it's the laptop from hell, whether it's all the involvement, what you just named there, the FBI, the Department of Justice. These will be investigations. And as those investigations with people like yourself and Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan and these people, as you get into these investigations where crimes come up, where malfeasance comes up, then you go to the next level. Do you agree with that? This is not going to be political.
It's not political. Absolutely not. And I'm not interested in a political witch. I do not believe in them. I fully agree with Kevin McCarthy and his statements that we will not be leading political impeachments, but we will be leading investigations, like James Comer leading the Oversight Committee. I very much look forward to participating in that process on the committee. We will be investigating Hunter Biden and many other people and entities. And it's very important for us to do that, to provide oversight and to provide accountability to the federal government agencies and the people involved there. Kevin McCarthy is absolutely right. Any impeachment will not be political, but it will be justified. And through these investigations in Republican-led committees, we will be providing that proof. And I look forward to doing so, and we will deliver impeachment.
Councilman Green, where are you going to be? People ask us all the time, because you're showing up at rallies, you're at the Trump rallies, but you're also going around supporting individual candidates besides running your own district. Can you give us, we've got a minute or two, can you give us a sense of what your schedule is, at least over the next couple of days? We understand you're everywhere between now and November 8th.
Well, one thing I'm focused on leading into this week is turning out the vote in Georgia, because we are going to elect Herschel Walker, and we are going to send him to the United States Senate. I'm also looking forward to supporting and making sure that Stacey Abrams is never elected governor in the state of Georgia, and so that she can be the two-time loser that she is going to be declared on November 8th. I'm working hard to help Republican candidates get elected not only in Georgia, but all across the country. So this upcoming week, I'm going to be here in my district and here in my home state. But I look forward to doing some traveling across the country, supporting more candidates, not only like Joe Kent, Carrie Lake, J.D. Vance, Blake Masters, Anna in Florida, and many others, because we have to get these fighters across the line. And Steve, you know how the left is. They're always coming after us with violence and threats. So I can't fully give all of my schedule, but I'll make my supporters know where I'll be.
Where do they go to get your PAC, and where do they go to find out everything about your campaign?
MTG4America.com, MTG4America.com. That's where you can support me, and you can donate to my campaign. My opponent has raised $14 million running against me in my district. We need to send him home and tell his California Democrat donors that we don't want their money here in Northwest Georgia, and we don't want the America Last Democrat policies. If you want to help support America First candidates across the country, you can donate to sasspac.com, SASSPAC.com. And that's how you can help me bring others just like me into Congress so that we can keep fighting, Steve, and we have a country to save. Thank you so much.
Congressman MTG, thank you very much. Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia. She's going to be getting out the vote for Governor Kemp and Herschel Walker in the Senate race.